What's poppin' YouTube? Or should I say what's not poppin', considering it seemed like everybody disliked the Mario movie. When I came back from the theater, I was expecting some good praise because I personally really did enjoy it. I made a whole review about it and it was all basically positive. The voice acting was strong, even from Chris Pratt, which most people were worried about initially, but I still think he did a good job. The visuals were great, and the story was just about as simple as I think it could have gotten, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. So when I turned to see what other YouTubers had to say about this, or social media in general, I was kind of caught off guard. By any means, this is not a masterpiece of a film in terms of storytelling and character development, but for what it is, I think it's a really good, enjoyable film. I went into this movie expecting a Super Mario movie, and that's exactly what I got. And I'm perfectly okay with that. That's what I wanted. So how come the general opinion is that this movie isn't good? Well, I do think there are a multitude of reasons. Probably the most minuscule one that I can think of is that people had just watched Puss in Boots, right? This is like the latest animated movie that has just come out. And by all means, it is fantastic. It is a great movie and I've talked about it in these few videos. You can go check them out if you'd like. Maybe people's expectations were a bit higher considering this is probably going to be the newest animated hit since Puss in Boots. But in a way that kind of does this a disservice because it's not trying to be this grandiose story that is going to make you rethink your whole life. This is just a simple kids film, and that's okay. Typically I hate associating animation with just for kids, but in this case the target demographic is literally kids. So why are we even complaining? I'll give it this, probably the biggest complaint I've heard is the pacing. And I'll admit, the movie does go by very fast. In fact, I remember, standing outside the theater and thinking, it's already over? It's clear that the creators just wanted to shove as much Mario as they could into this one film. And although I can see that as being a hindrance, I personally didn't mind it. It's important that we remember that this film was made by Mario fans for Mario fans. I think everybody who went to go see it that is a huge Mario fan got a kick out of it. And even my parents who came to go see it with me, they still really liked it and they're adults. I think there is something for everybody really. In a way, all these references and tidbits kind of make this film feel a little disjointed, but once again, this is a Mario movie, and I think it's okay. It's much more passable. I would honestly be a little disappointed if they didn't do as much with the Mario universe. Like I said, I won't lie, the pacing was definitely fast. Although I was definitely entertained by it, I can see how that can put off people. But the amount of mixed reviews that I'm hearing is just kind of absurd, really. The critics and the audience scores for Rotten Tomatoes couldn't be more clashing. I'm gonna respond to some of the reviews. So James, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that last name, said, I found myself wanting more, as if I was only getting part of the experience. But the Super Mario Bros. Movie is not intended to work in the same way that a conventional film does. It's not about cinematic enjoyment, it's about expanding a brand. Well, no shit. If you didn't have any references, don't you think that'd be even more of a disservice? And I wish he elaborated on what he meant by wanting more, cause for what it's worth, I feel like this movie gave us more than enough. His points to me are contradicting. He says he wants more, but he feels like it's just expanding a brand. I'm sorry, I don't exactly know what you mean by that. You're clearly upset when they shove these references down your throat, but you want more? Some of these critics tend to be very vague. Here's another one. Kids may have the time of their lives watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but for most adults, this is game over. Wow, good job on making a video game pun. You're so funny. In her full review, she actually goes on to call Jack Black's Bowser innocent. What the hell does that mean? She goes on to say, I get that adapting the game into anything resembling a cohesive narrative would be difficult, but it frequently feels like no one is trying. You're right, it is difficult. That's why they don't tend to explain most of the oddities that happen. They just sort of do. Like, how did the Kongs have carts? Beats me. How are there floating blocks? Hell if I knew. She goes on to call most of the voice acting trash, but then goes off to list half of the voice actors and doing an excellent job. What? Look, the weakest voice actor to me was definitely Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. He wasn't really playing so much of a character as he more was just playing himself, and I can understand that. And for Chris Pratt, I don't know, there's like a side of me that wants to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I definitely think he did change up his act a little bit, and give Mario his own flair, I guess. He wasn't the strongest one, but he certainly wasn't awful and unbearable. And I really like Charlie Day's performance. I think he encapsulates the awkwardness of a Luigi perfectly, and that's exactly what I wanted from Luigi. And like I said, she commended everyone else for doing a great job. She literally only has a few nitpicks. When you take out the audience reviews, they all seem to be extremely high and very positive. I feel like people are expecting a little bit too much from this movie. It's nothing more than just a kid's movie that's fun and enjoyable. That's it. And I do wholeheartedly believe that adults can have fun with this one too. My parents certainly did. So why can't other people? I'm just sort of not understanding the critical points here. There are some valid criticism, most of it is just kind of odd. I mean, a lot of these critics even point out that they're not the target demographic. And you're right, you aren't. This is a film for the Mario fans, and that's kind of how it was always going to be. Illumination has always been known for making family movies, so I don't really understand why this time it's any different. Look, it's totally okay if you don't like this film. That's always fine, you're entitled to your own opinion, and I respect it. That's okay. Not every film is for everybody. I've been a longtime Mario fan, and maybe it's nostalgia blindness that's completely corrupting my mind from seeing straight or whatever. I don't know. But I'm okay with that. Honestly, I had a fun time with this movie. If you go into the theater expecting a Mario movie, then you won't be disappointed, I promise you. Anyways, just wanted to give my 2 cents on this whole thing, because it seems like a lot of people are kind of dissatisfied with it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, check out some of my other stuff, consider subscribing, and I'll catch y'all later.